So the first thing is you have a tracing pad. I'm going to take one piece from the tracing pad and then just fold into half. And then I keep folding it into a quarter of this paper. So then you have a paper that has 3 lines basically, yeah? The project eventually looks like this is one page of it. We will not, there's a really very good project description and very detailed explains everything, but maybe we won't go through all of them because a lot of reading, you can read it yourself. So basically what you do is, as you can see, you have 3 sets of boxes, right? The first 1, 2, 3 are cubes. So which means the 3 dimensions, the x and the y and the z are the same dimension. They're called the cubes, right? The second one is not. The second one is called the cuboid. Yeah, that's kind of a difficult pronunciation for me. So basically it's a rectangular shape rather than square. So you have a rectangular shape that the x and the y and the z can be all different. So the lengths of 3 dimensions are different. So the last one is this one. This is sort of your design. So you're going to draw a composition of boxes according to your own design. So we will start with the first one. The first 3, they're cubes, which means the x and the y and the z are the same dimension. So, if you look at them, this one, we're looking at the bottom, and this one, we do not see the bottom or the top. And the third one, we actually see the top. So this one is above our eye level. Yeah, above the eye level, and this one is at our eye level, and then this one is below our eye level. So for something that's most of the time always below our eye level is the table, right? We always see the top of the table. Unless you're a little kid, you normally don't see the bottom of the table, right? So what is always above our eye level, for example, you can imagine, that the ceiling is always above our eye level, and we always see the bottom, and this could be a chandelier or something, or a projector on top of the ceiling. So that's this 1, 2, 3. I will start with the cubes. So I will do pretty much the same. This first one, I will draw a cube according to the line that I just folded. This is my first line. This is going to be my horizontal line is the eye level. So I'm going to draw according to this line. And the vanishing point is at the either end. So I will lightly mark there. So that's my vanishing point, 1 and 2. So I have a 2 vanishing point there, right? So I'm going to just draw the first, because the first cube is above my eye level. So my line, maybe I will start from here, a vertical line, right? And then I'm going to draw my front surface. So which vanishing point I should refer to draw my front surface is actually the one that's further away, because this line right here is very close to this vanishing point and is further away from the other vanishing point, which means I will see more of this front surface and less of the side. Yeah, because the side goes very quickly to the vanishing point. So I'm going to draw then. So now you can sort of decide how high this one is. This is according to your own decision. You have a top point and a bottom point. And now we're going to need to use the technique that I told you, is you put your hand over at your point that you're going to start to draw a line. But then your eye is actually looking at your vanishing point. so that you can draw a line that's actually eventually is going to there, but you're not going to draw and finish the whole line. You're just going to draw part of the line, yeah? So I'm going to draw part of the line, but this line I'm going to draw, there's also a question how long it should be. You know, it should be shorter than the height that you defined, because the height does not shrink, it's a true height. And whatever that you're going to draw to define the front surface is sort of shrinking a little bit. So I will not draw a line that's longer than the height, then will not be a cube. So I'm going to draw a little bit shorter. So according to, if my hand is a little over the, you know, the distance that I wanted, that's fine. I'm just going to cut it off anyway, right? So this is the first surface. So this surface has the longest line right here, and a top line, which then according to the vanishing point, and the bottom line also according to the vanishing point. Yeah, it's a little hard, but regardless, let's take another junk paper, and regardless, if I'm doing something on top of my vanishing point, this line has to be slanted going lower, you know. Sometimes I have a student that, you know, if it's difficult to see and eventually report to the vanishing point, at least the slant, the angle is correct, because someone is going to go over to, you know, the wrong direction, is going up, you know. This line and this line are going lower, right? Yeah, we all agree with, they're going lower, right? They're slanted this way, they're not slanted that way, okay? So the next one, the next of the two lines are much easier because they are going to a vanishing point that's so much closer, right? Because I can start from anywhere here, and then eventually I'm going to finish at the corner, so that's what I'm doing right here. Yeah? I'm starting from somewhere that's, you know, sometimes you just have a sense of how much the space should be. And we know for sure when we finish the surface, this surface, the surface A, is going to be wider than the surface B. I don't know if you can actually see that this surface A is going to be wider because this surface we see more and this surface we see less, right? So proportion of surface and the height is very important. So if it just happened that your cube is actually, it doesn't look like a cube, which sometimes could very much happen because the space that I, hatched is pretty much correct, and whatever beyond that is not correct, because this dimension right here should never be longer than your height. You know, if it's longer, then it's not a cube. It's always shorter because it's shrink a little bit, right? So the last one the last one is below. Okay, so I should have a cube starting from here, and the one that's longer. So when I draw this line, I'm actually sort of looking at that corner, and then put my hand. And sometimes before you draw, you lightly feel where is exactly the you're not touching your paper yet, but you are checking between this point and this point. Your eye are constantly switching and checking between them, sort of, right? So you look here, you look here, you look here, you look here, and then you draw sort of lightly, put your pen over, and then if you feel correct, then you draw on it. So that's the only thing that keep in mind. The most important thing that you have to make it correct, as all the points should eventually go to the vanishing point. You know, if you have a little bit proportion mistake or you're not making perfect judgment, doesn't quite look like a cube, that's less important. But at least once I really extend them, they should pretty much go into the vanishing point. Okay. Draw. I don't know what I'm really drawing, but let's see. Okay, still referring to the vanishing point. Okay, and I don't know what I'm drawing, but I'm drawing something according to, you know, my vanishing point. Okay, all the lines, even a small line, even a tiny little line like this, you know, it's a tiny small line, but don't draw just, and also this object should be horizontal and vertical at X and Y and Z. So you don't draw something slanted. If you draw something slanted, we cannot tell whether you're drawing it correctly or not, right? So this little tiny line should also follow in the perspective, and this tiny line should also go to the perspective. Very important. This is the end. You know, this is only sketchy and loose. Once you've done that, you will basically come to number 7 on your project description. Now transfer to the overlay sheet and trace the forms with particular regard for your chosen line quality. So first, trace the shape using dot line. I need to explain this. And secondly, trace a wobbly line. And then third, beef up the profile with multiple strokes. Okay, so basically this is 1 and 2 and 3. This is 3 different techniques. So when you submit your project, you should have at least 4 pages, right? First is your sketch. Second is using dot line technique. Second is using wobbly, and third is using basically multiple lines. So I will not to finish all of them. I'll just teach you what do they mean. So first, the dot line. Okay, so dot line means dot and the line in between, which means what I'm seeing is mostly, I don't know if Why do you think we can zoom just a tiny little bit? So what I'm seeing is more at the corner there, and very light, and sometimes almost disappearing in between. Is more like, you know, a line. If I'm drawing a line, a dot and a dot, it's like, okay, a dot. So what you're seeing is very strongly the beginning and the end, but because the speed is so quick, so the middle part almost disappearing. So that's this one. And the second one is sort of easier, is called the wobbly line. So the wobbly line is, if I trace over this, is sort of, you know, because your hand, nobody's hand is perfect, especially when you are slowing down of something, you know, and then you sort of having a wobbly quality of it rather than going straight. And this is just, you know, just, I think for someone just a habit, for someone maybe takes time to develop, you know, because some people may find it's easy to draw a straight line rather than draw a wobbly line, because a lot of people cannot, they have to artificially make themselves draw a wobbly line, and that's really difficult. Another thing is, I want to tell you, so when you do your final version, you need to pay attention to the corner, okay? So before you were drawing all over the place, now you want to crossing over, I'm using a wobbly line maybe a little bit, crossing over at the end, but not going over too much. Okay, so if I'm drawing something like this, okay, so that's wrong already because this is going over too much. So you are drawing, because you're tracing, right? You already know where to finish, but you go over just a tiny little bit, so they're crossing a little bit at the corner, and then and eventually it's called to beef up with multiple lines, which then is kind of going back to our original one. Is, you know, you're going how many times? 2 or 3 times, depends on your own hand. Some people go, I think normally 2 or 3 times, but not anything more than that. So what you draw is you draw, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, okay, and try to of course draw them so that they are together, right?